Hi guys, welcome to Music B&B. I'm Callum. Today I'm joined by Sweet Lily Love. Say hi.
Hi, YouTube.
We're going to pretend that we haven't already said hi and like I messed up any of the technical side, and we're just going to stroll straight into it. Would you be able to give us a bit of background about yourself as an artist? Because we've heard quite a bit of your songs on this channel, quite a few of your songs, but we yet to meet the artist. So would you be able to give some background to yourself?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I'm a Gen Xer. I grew up mainly during the 80s, 90s. And I come from like a working class poor background, and so I heard a lot of music growing up, I was influenced, a lot of the pop mainstream sort of music that was out at the time. Um, and I didn't really have, a lot of opportunities to learn a lot of, musical skills, growing up. So basically, later on, and it was more later on in life that I really I would say it was around like the early 2000s that I started, I already had a lot of experience listening to, the 90s alternative music and started getting some exposure to punk and ska and things like that. Um, but it was round about, I want to say 2003, 2004. Remember I was driving, this was my first time living out here now. And I was driving around and I turned on the local dance music station. And, they had some interesting music on. And I remember this one song came on. It was from Sash, and it was called I Believe. And I remember at the time hearing that and just being like blown away. Like I was like, that is some amazing music. Like it just moves me it's kind of a trance club sort of tune. And I remember that, and so I started listening to a lot more Sash after that. And so that was kind of my start to really starting to get any sort of EDM music. And at that point, that was kind of my exposure. I started, yeah, I would stream like techno stations from Germany, which those are always fun because the mixes just go on, and like then the DJ will drop in with his, and I don't speak a lick of German, and I'd always be like, "What? Will you shut up and let's get the music back on," you know. Um, but so but anyway, it was around about, I would say I was getting into the later 2000s. I don't want to say 2010, somewhere around there. I started on some of these stations hearing some music from the likes of Hixie and Darren Styles and this hardcore genre. And I remember really getting into it, and just like the beats were amazing. I may or may also not have been really into psychedelics at the time. And so it was, just listening to that music and just being part of it. Now, bear in mind, I'd never really been to a rave. Like my rave experience and actually going out to clubs is very minimal.
Yeah.
So I most of my music was, with my headphones on, listening, usually having like a visualizer like Milk Drop on, and back in those days, and just really just sort of just vibing and just, getting into the whole feel of it. Um Anyway, so I started, over the next years, I started picking up other artists and other songs. I started hearing, I think it's pronounced Searle, S3RL, from Australia, and his music, like he took hardcore he's taken it into this whole other direction. And and I started, comparing hardcores come from like the 90s and very low tech and, vinyl underground scene, which has this great sound all to itself. And then towards the 2000s, technology became more accessible, more affordable, and more, and there was more education available out there through YouTube and other things. And so, you have improved sound quality and more of that hi-fi sound. And then, you have people taking, this really fast beat, energetic music and doing all sorts of things with the synths and with the drums, the beats, everything, just all across the board. And so, I was really got into that. Well, up to this point, I still really, I mean, I'd been in choir, I took some music theory, I kind of knew some stuff about music, but I really wasn't doing things. Well, it was a couple years ago, I finally decided to enroll in college. I didn't have the opportunity when I was younger. And so, I actually originally started going, I was thinking about being a social worker, and I started taking some classes, and there are a bunch of electives you can take with that. So one of the electives I took was an introductory course to music technology,
Nice.
because it looked interesting. I took that course. We used BandLab, it was very basic stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember for my final project, I did sort of like a dance version of Ave Maria, and it was kind of fun. But after a while, then I was like, oh, that was really interesting. And decided to take a couple more classes in that. And then I was like, you know what? I wonder if I could just do this. Like I could actually release something. And that's when I started working on some songs that eventually became the Fresh album,
Yeah.
which you've reviewed. Which, obviously at the time it was very early stuff, very like, I know what I'm doing. I'm just, winging it here and trying to make it sound interesting and just doing my thing.
Yeah.
And and I kept releasing and learning new things, taking classes, watching videos, and trying new stuff. Well, and anyway, this is kind of leads up to this song. Is I After releasing my previous one, Magic Carpet Ride, I was I remember I just so disappointed in that. Like I heard that and was like, okay, there's some great parts, but that I can't figure out that drum and bass. And eventually I was able to find a video from a YouTuber named Jacoby, and he demonstrated how to properly program a hardcore drum and bass, a kick and bass combo. And I think his was the first video where I really think I understood what was going on. He made
Yeah.
it very, straightforward. In fact, I subscribe to his Patreon now because I'm just like, yeah, you're really helpful. And once I did that, I was like, oh my God, that's the sound I've been trying to put forward all this time. And so now I decided, my first project with that would be this a retake of Suicide Girls, which you got reviewed before I did that. And honestly, I'm kind of thinking about pulling everything down before this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, what's interesting about today is we're gonna actually have a listen along together, isn't it? And a bit of background to Suicide Girls. I'm right that this was a punk song. Yeah, am I right about that? Yeah.
Or Oi. Yeah, it was an Oi song from a band called Coxbar, and they're over your way. And I think I mentioned I've gotten into some punk and some Oi, early pre-racist skinhead music, and I really, identify with that working class culture and with the the struggles of the underclass, and and the things that are, even though a lot of it is about drinking and getting, in trouble and whatnot, it's still, it's a lot of fun, and it's just the simple chords and power, behind it and whatever. So one of my favorite songs from, excuse me, Coxbar is Suicide Girls, which is, this song about like tough, punk girls who,
Yeah.
you don't mess with them. They're really hot and everything, but they're just it's very empowering and very strong
Yeah.
song. And
We might
I
recommend
I
actually
remember hearing.
before we listen to this one, recommend people to go and listen to that first, so they can hear like the elements of that song within your version.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
indeed. Anyway, I decided to do. I was gonna do. I figured, I'll try to see if I can do, a hardcore dance version of it. And I did one, and it had some interesting parts, but like I said, I still didn't really know what I was doing. And no, this I think I finally got it to to what I want it to be.
Fantastic. So when we listen, we're hoping for that big sort of driving kick within it, are we?
Yeah,
Okay. Interesting. Shall we give it a listen then? Shall we give it a listen?
let's do it.
There we go. I mean, I'm just going to pause it. I can already hear that sort of thumping bass kicking in there just as we're building. It feels a lot more, I'd say, full, perhaps, than the previous work. And this all comes from those tutorials you've been watching.
Yep.
Let's keep going. Like I always say with all your stuff, I never know when the drop's going to happen because you've always been very good at like, I think it's it. No, okay, we're back to building up again, and then it hits at the time when maybe you least expected it, because then you start expecting it not to drop. And really, really good at that. I'll go back a bit because they're very good at building. What are you doing? That's amazing. It almost sounds like I mean that bass is so hard. So well done with that. That is thumping. It almost sounds like there's like a really high pitched barking dog, but it just works so well. That like sound. Amazing. Let's keep going. Kind of completed, don't they? That's why the bass. Okay, when you open up your project, I don't know what DAW you use, but is it like a list of synths going down and down and track by track? Because there's
Pretty much, yeah.
It's pretty much like I remember in one of my reviews of yours, I said it sounds like forest creatures coming together and singing the national anthem, and it really, really does. And I think all those sort of like cutesy sounding synthesizers, they work, and there's so much going on, but in this genre, it works so well that there is so much going on. You know, that's the point of the genre. So would you be able to delve in before we carry on a bit more with the song, like what your process is, what DAW do you use, and how you build?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I use Logic Pro, and I don't know. It's as far as like the process of building, it varies, but I'll usually start with a melody line, or sometimes I'll start with a melody line, and sometimes I'll just start with a beat and try to find a good, like, kick and bass, good sound to
Yeah.
kind of keep which is the underlying sound that you're hearing through everything. So from there, I'll just kind of build around. Sometimes I'll start at the beginning, sometimes I'll start in the middle. But it's generally I tend to create like I read, left to right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, here's the song, here's the intro, here's a drop, here's where we have the break, and then we have the continuing theme throughout the music.
Yeah. Having
And I
the
use a lot of
Sorry. Having the focus
I was
of a cover, has that helped you to maybe stay on track with where you needed to be more than if you have a blank canvas?
Yes, I mean it does. I mean covers are, they're both they both make things easier, but they also can be more challenging. Um, the easier things obviously is, like, I have I know what the chord progressions are. I know what I'm trying to do. I know how the song, is supposed to sound, at least melodically.
Yeah.
But then, of course, then it presents another challenge is, well, how do I take that sound and make it mine, especially if it's a song from a different genre? And I'm taking, and I also don't really want a bunch of pissed off skinheads angry at me. So I want to make the best sound that I can, and respect this song as
Hmm.
much as I love it. And so it's got, it's kind of a balance there.
Yeah, and I think going to a different genre also gives it the freedom to be, vastly different as well. Because if you
Hmm.
hear the original song, you can hear elements of the original song in it, but you're not doing a like for like, verse, chorus kind of situation here. It's your spin on it,
Right.
which is nice. I think we'll carry on because it looks like it's about to go quiet or calmer here on looking at this waveform on SoundCloud. So we'll go back. Ooh, nice tempo change. These vocals were provided by Kelly.
But she knows it'll be alright. She's with the suicide girls, strutting down the street with an attitude like she owns the world. Don't even think she's
Here we go.
looking at you. He's with the suicide. He's with the suicide.
Nice panning.
He's with the suicide.
The automation on your project is mad.
Welcome to the bridge.
And when they're all together, you better watch out.
It's like a complete style change at that point then. It's like, welcome to the bridge. And then it feels like a slight tempo change as well there. It's very playful. It's definitely what you seem to be quite good at doing. It's making those shifts. But it's almost like transporting yourself from one world to another world. It's like left turns everywhere. It seems to work well. I don't know. Do you find you get bored easily and need to make changes quickly throughout a song?
Oh God, yeah. And I think that's something I struggle with, and I try to utilize utilize that to make songs interesting, but it's always like it's kind of like, an angry dog that I have to keep on a leash, and I do have very severe ADHD, so it's like I when I hear the same sound over and over again, I'm just like, I can't, no, we need something different. I need to change. And so I have to be able to kind of like try to temper that and be like, all right, so can we
Yeah.
actually do that in a way that's not going to be too distracting or too, off-putting?
Yeah. Well, you've definitely got the genre to be able to do that. You know, you're working within a genre that allows for a lot of that change. And I'm the same. I get bored very easily. That's why I'm always searching for different songs, new songs to listen to, or even make
Mhm.
myself. And not a single one of my projects are the same. But yeah, I think this hardcore style does lend itself well to those changes. We'll carry on.
Nobody's gonna mess with them till the last one passes out. For a lifetime or a single night, you might get into her world. That'll be strictly by invite. She's with the suicide girl. Just don't try to take her away. You'll be dead before you fail. Get in the backseat, know your place. She's with the suicide girl.
Oh, here we go.
She might dance the night away or spend it in a cell. It don't matter anyway. She's with the suicide girl. She's with the suicide girl. She's with the suicide girl. She's with the suicide girl.
Well, I have to say, I think you completed like your goal there, your mission to improve that sound. How do you feel you've done with that song?
I think I mean, honestly, every song that I ever do, I always, whenever I hear it, at some point I start thinking, oh, I should have done this. I could have done this differently. But
We all do that, yeah.
yeah, but I think, I mean, generally, yeah, I'm loving this. I think this is the first song that I've done that I think has at least some potential for commercial viability, and at least is that people could hear and be like, oh yeah, this is something I can dance to. This is something
Yeah.
if you're really into the hard beats and everything, like, oh yeah, that would work.
It's definitely like you spoke about getting the bass drum correct, and I can feel that knowing your other stuff. Not to say that any of your other stuff was bad, but the bass drum is like a sort of punch to the face every time it hits. It's so clear. It's so there in the mix. It's the forefront of it, which is, I think, it's very important in that hardcore style, isn't it? To have that driving bass drum. As much as you'd love other
It's like,
elements, that's your core, isn't it? That is.
oh yeah. I mean, it's like, making hardcore, it's like we're making, I mean, any sort of dance music really is, it's like treating a bleeding wound. It's all about the compression.
Yeah, yeah, it is, isn't it? Wow. So, would you be able to let us know when this is releasing?
I think that is coming out on the 8th. So it should be, it should be coming out for, I think it's Wednesday. I don't know. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but it should be in the next few days.
Fantastic. We'll make sure it's linked down below then as well. A link to your. I'm guessing it'll be on YouTube as well. Do you tend to release on YouTube?
Yeah, well, I already have a YouTube video up, so
Oh, fantastic.
it's
So we
it's
can,
on there.
yeah, we can link
Yeah.
that then. So if you could give people a reason to listen to your music, what would you say? What makes it stand out? What makes it different from others?
Oh, don't listen to it at all. No, it's um yeah, no, I don't know. If you like hard music, if you like dancing, if you like rhythm and hard beats, then I'm gal, then I'm the one who's gonna, try to do it.
Yeah.
I'm working at right now. I'm actually working on a cover of Angels by Attention. And I found a really great vocalist. Her name is Leah Rose, and we're kind of finalizing that. I'm hoping to have that finished in the next week or two. And you'll have to check that out when it comes
Yeah.
out.
That kind of answers my next question, which was what was next for you. So fantastic. So I always
Yeah.
ask this question towards the end of the interview: is how do you feel the internet has impacted your approach to being an artist? Has it made it easier for you to be an artist? Has it made it harder? Because whenever I ask this question, different artists, depending on their generation or how they like to create music, always gives a different answer. So how has the internet impacted you as an artist?
I mean, it's made it possible, period. I would not like imagining life without the internet is just not possible for me, right? And I'm much more of an online person. I've always been a digital person. Even like I was an early adopter. I was using a computer since, the late 80s, since I
Yeah.
was a kid. And um I think that's for me. It's made it possible to find the find all the tools and to learn the lessons that prior to that really just wouldn't have been accessible to someone who working class person who doesn't didn't really have all the opportunities. The internet, for all its problems, it does offer that now. Like there are things you can go and learn. You can go and you can get software to do everything you need to do, and you can it's not that it's super cheap, but it's at least at a level where like more people can afford it than certainly
Yeah.
than before.
Yeah, I mean, you could make a whole album using your iPhone or whatever your phone if you wanted to these days. Um,
I suppose so, yeah.
I agree with you. I'm very internet based. I couldn't imagine myself playing or performing. I'm quite introverted as an artist, so using the internet has definitely made me able to, share my voice to the world. Where a lot of people would say it's very oversaturated. There's too much music out there. It's impossible to find anything, or it's only given to those who are really really whatever. It's given people the same access as others, really. So it's allowed everyone to take part, whereas it used to be, I don't know, a money club perhaps. Um, yeah,
I mean, it still is a money club, but it's at least not as much.
no, no, it's definitely more accessible, easier to get things available. Like I never imagined I'd be able to record an album when I was growing up. I grew up in the '90s, never would have imagined it, but now I've you can release any albums. Like you can make an album a week, or whatever, release songs every day if you wanted to. You can, it's possible. So
Yeah. In the
yeah.
90s, you'd be lucky if you had like a 4-track tape record, thing. That was like if your friend had one, that was like your friend was like was the suddenly a producer because they
Yeah,
had
yeah.
this little device.
I had
Yeah.
this little like tape like note recorder, that therapists would have used or something to play my guitar to, and that was it, me singing my guitar to it. And now you can do
Hmm.
anything. So yeah, thank you for coming on. Fully enjoyed it. I've definitely enjoyed a new experience of listening to music with the artist. So thank you for making that possible as well.
All right. Well, thank you for having me and for all your great reviews. You've definitely been helpful. And yeah, just keep on keeping on.
You too. Thank you very much.
Oh, I say.